Well, hello everybody.
Hi, everybody. Mike Hancock here, and welcome to our Global Intelligence Update. And today we have Bill James, Esquire, a man born in the depths of Port Elizabeth in South Africa and transported to New Zealand, where he's struck a career for himself as one of the best known people in the country in sales. And I love his mantra, which he's had for years, of selling for people who don't want to have to sell or don't want to sell but have to anyway. And Bill's been a director of a major marketing firm in New Zealand. And these days is at the point in his career where he's picking and choosing exactly what he would like to do. But he's an expert at money, no money down marketing and no money down client acquisition. He's very, very well known with clients, primarily in a lot of financial services, but across the broad base of business. And he has won Speaker of the Year as well in New Zealand Business Person of the Year and several other awards also. So, Bill, it's lovely to have you here. Thanks for agreeing to be here today, and over to you.
Thank you, and thank you everybody for coming in at all sorts of, I don't know, ungodly time zones to say hello. It was always very much appreciated, and really lovely seeing Lindsay again because it's quite right. I haven't seen you for a long time, my friend. So good to catch up. So we're here for a good time, not a long time. So we'll jump into it. The whole idea of $0 marketing, the idea of being able to make money make money without putting money down has always fascinated me. And I guess it's almost an offshoot of what used to be called guerrilla marketing, and I call it leverage marketing. But if it's done well, you shouldn't have to pay for it until someone has bought something. And that's the ideal scenario. So just like to explore a few things, and the way I thought I might do it is to put up some examples, then sort of work through how those came about and what was needed, put up another example, work through that one. And then given time and given your enthusiasm, I would love someone to say, well, Bill, I'm kind of trying to get into this, or I've just made an inroad into an organization or an association or something like that. And I'd be very, very happy to see if we can brainstorm some ideas live to see if we can get someone here into a $0 marketing sort of scenario. So I'll quickly just share the good old bad old screen. Hopefully you guys are all seeing that. What is
Yep,
$0
come up.
marketing? Sorry?
It's there, Bill.
Good. So it's really in that area that you would expect where you don't spend a lot of money and you make inroads. Your referrals is a very obvious one. At the moment, I've gone back to being a solopreneur. I'm loving looking after a couple of grandkids and that sort of stuff. I don't have time for anything but referrals. If it's not a referral, I don't do it. Networking, the other obvious one, is certainly still very, very powerful. Just pick your network area and make sure that you have worthy people there that are worth sitting down next to. Your centers of influence are those people that you build a strong relationship with over time, and they continually feed you referrals. It's a fun little one just here. I know this is a strange thing, but I have a little book there. That's a lunch with a lawyer, and there are 4 referrals on it. So I work very, very hard in that very traditional style of offline marketing. And finally, we've got the leverage marketing, which is what we're here to talk about tonight. So where can you find it? We've worked with audiologists, a sushi shop, associations, schools, businesses, obviously, and pretty much anywhere. And I will give you some examples as we roll through. And what I'd like to do is just stop every once in a while, instead of perhaps waiting for questions at the end, welcome comments, welcome thoughts, and welcome whatever you want at that stage. So if I look at the sushi shop example, we had a franchise, and the franchise was in the CBD in Auckland, and it was owned by, in fact, about 96% of the franchises were owned by recent immigrants, mainly Chinese. And the challenge there was very simple. They didn't want to leave the shop. They didn't know anybody. The English was there or thereabouts. And there was just a safety in opening the door and going and playing with their sushi all day, but not wanting to get out and do. And so one of the ideas we came up for them was we put a big poster up and we did things like show us your holiday snaps. And we got people to come in and we put big boards up where people could put their holiday snaps. We did sushi in schools, generated small three sushi uh, tubs that you could put in. And in the end, they had about four sushi school drops, which amounted to about 160 sushi pieces a day, which again, when you multiply it out, makes sense. But with this little one, we started with something as simple as a poster at the back. Do you have a social club? If you do, let the person at the counter know. And so what they did there, because you can't really trust the person at the counter to do the right thing all the time, we filled out a form. Just, do you have a social club? Who's your social club organizer? What's the name of your organization? What's the contact phone number? Would you give them this card? And the card was just a very simple little thing saying, we have a sushi competition. I'd like to give you a call, take my call. So what they then did was follow up on that call and provide an information sheet. So we arranged a round robin competition. And in the end, we had 11 businesses who had a sushi eating competition going on. And we just got them to visit each other. So we created a community aspect to that. And they provided the sushi each time. The way they did it was they had a competition who could eat 25 pieces of sushi the fastest, and actually ended up becoming 20 because we found people were finding it very, very difficult to eat 25 bits of sushi. And Elise is sitting there going, not me, I would get five and I'm done. So, but you have some big macho guy and down he goes. So if you do the maths of that, 11 companies on a round robin, 20 bits of sushi to each company. So basically you can make that, 22 instead of 11. And when you did the maths, it was a lot of sushi. What they then did was they made sure that the finals were done in store. So the semi-finals, they got down to the final four and they closed the doors at 5 o'clock, and at 5:30 they reopened them, and you had about 20 to 35 people coming in, depending, all filling up on sushi, having their semi-finals. And it was a speed eating competition. It wasn't about how much, it was about how fast. With that, of course, lots of photos, lots of social media, which was the final thing. And they'd end up having their final sushi eating competition. Um, and in the end, they ended up selling 4,800 extra pieces of sushi with a profit margin of about 94, 95%. And selling those each for about $2 a pop. So that little escapade not only did that, but it also launched their in-house sushi platters. And so we managed to accommodate, and I think you just work within the parameters of an organization. No one wanted to leave the place. No one did except to deliver sushi. Everybody came to them. And of course, the knock-on effect was we also generated special company cars that if you work for that company, you get your ninth lump of sushi free or whatever the deal was. I actually forget what it was. But we made sure that we leveraged that whole thing. And I've got a QR code at the end. And if you do want to just bash on the QR code, happily forward you the PowerPoints. You're more than welcome to have them. I'm not sure how long they'll go on. I know this is being recorded. So if you see this in 4 years' time, don't be surprised if we're not doing it anymore. So what I'd like to do at that stage is just perhaps stop the share and open the door for the first time and just see if anybody's got any comments or thoughts on that or any questions on what we did. Um, because the
Any
essence of
questions?
that, we spent nothing until someone bought. We didn't spend a cent on sushi. Plus, from the shop's point of view, they always have sushi at the end of the day. Right? And that all gets put on a platter at full price and sent off to these competitions. And so they also made sure that they staggered the competition. So they were sending off 40, 60 pieces of sushi on a daily basis, not 180 to 240 on one day. And then they made sure that that all got recorded. They asked people to take photos of the team. They put them up on the wall, and we kept leveraging it and leveraging it and leveraging it. So people would walk past and see their own faces, and in the window we had the latest winner, and all sorts of little discount cards and things going on to make sure we then had a retention program. So what is round
Uh,
robin? Okay, Mike.
Go on, Bill.
Okay, a round robin is, if you think of pretty much any competition where you've got perhaps 10 teams playing each other, they should all play each other once. And what you do is you create a point system, and at the end of that, then you've got your top four teams, and they then go into the semi-finals and finals. But it's designed to make sure that if you've got 11 teams, each one of them plays 10 teams, and that means another 40 lumps of sushi every time. So that guarantees 400 pieces of sushi for every single team in the competition. And that's how they got to 4,800 pieces of sushi. And so a round robin makes a lot of sense if you want a lot of product to go out the door. Fantastic question. Thank you very much. Any more for any more? Does that all make sense?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
good.
it's good.
All
Very
right.
good.
It's a lovely, simple thing when you get your head around the concept of let's just do everything very laterally. I mean, I'm a Welshman by nature. I know what Mike said. I'm probably the most cosmopolitan. Born in South Africa, raised in England, Welsh heritage, went to New Zealand, and mum is an absolute bitzer from everywhere around the European market. So, I mean, I'm probably as cosmopolitan as anybody. But it is a lovely, simple concept, and it's huge fun because people just jump in and go with it. So let me share with you the very, very basic concept here. What we do is we have a program, and we say we click in, we clamp on, we crank up. Now, what I find most people do with marketing is they spend an absolute fortune on creating a product or a marketing piece. They use it once and then they put it on the shelf, and that's just absolutely stupid. And I'm sorry, but it's just a complete waste, and it's inefficient. So what we do is we say to people, look, you need to click in another client group. So with the sushi example as an example, once we did it for one sushi branch, we had a look at where the demographics worked. It wasn't an idea that would work too widely, too rurally, but when you're only looking for teams of 10, one of the best of these was actually in Matamata, which for those that don't know is a very small town between here, there, and everywhere. It's never really gone up in price because it's never been close enough to any boom. And by the time the boom gets there, it's changed its mind. It really is one street. Even they managed to get a sushi competition with six businesses in there. So having done it once, this franchise group has something like 55 franchises around the country. Why don't we put another group in? Or why don't we use it in another way? And I'll give you an example. The second thing we do is we clamp on additional marketing. So once we've got these people coming in to buy sushi, let's give them the discount cards. Let's create platters that they can buy. Let's give them loyalty incentives. Let's make sure that if you're in here, you can put your holiday snaps up. Let's make sure we have a tell a friend competition. So once you've got it there, one of the things we did, which was really very interesting, was we got people to volunteer what sushi log they wanted once a month. We made a special sushi log on a day. And the person whose sushi log had it, just told everyone on their social media. You only had to make 6 or 7. You never sold them, but you got massive social media for the creation of 6 or 7 sushi logs. So you have that ability to put a lot of additional marketing in there, and then crank it up. Don't just do it once. When I was selling insurance, I used to go around. Well, I had entry into what they call Work and Income New Zealand, which is a government department here. I was a bank manager. I had a financial literacy program, and I got my way in there by saying, I'd like to help your people become more financially literate. And they all went, well, you're a bank manager? Come on in. I very quickly hit on the idea because I ended up with about 200 clients in the end. I would buy them Valentine's roses once a year. And I would literally have almost 700 roses in my car. That was a cost. and I would go to every Working Income New Zealand office, and none of them ever got a Valentine's rose. And every year, so if you want to add on an extra thing, tell a story, be creative. I would go in and I go, this year I'm the Marlboro man. I'm 6'3" and I'm dressed like a cowboy. And they go home and tell their husbands a 6'3" guy dressed like a cowboy came and gave me roses. And I would literally go around from one end of Auckland to the other and hand yellow roses, which is a friendship colour, to every woman in Working Income New Zealand and one guy called John at the Mangere branch. And let me tell you, John made his rose last longer than anybody else, and he was delighted to get it. And I thought, well, hang on a minute, this is crazy. I'm only seeing them once a year. So the next thing, and I wasn't getting leads because people would go, I got a rose, and they didn't want to talk to me, they just wanted a rose. So that was the setup. Halloween, I would just go around with bags and bags and bags and bags of sweets. And I would hand them to everyone. I would literally hand out maybe 2,000 little bags of sweets I'd have made from a little sweet place. And they cost me literally 20 cents each. The roses were 680. The bags of sweets were 400 bucks. And I'd literally walk around and, hey, here we are. And the woman behind the counter, you are not allowed in a government department in New Zealand. Go through, Bill, they're waiting for you. I have roses, I have sweets. I'm the rose man. And it was really very, very simple. Um, my record was 76 leads in a day. And all I would do would walk in, hi, who are you? I'm the guy that hands out the roses. Listen, I do the insurances for everybody. Here's a slip of paper. It's got all the stuff I do. Tick what you want, pop your name on. I'll get the information to you. I'll grab it on the way out. I'm just going to give some more people the roses. Okay. And I run around like a headless chick. And on the way out, I grab 20 slips and disappear back into my car. And then when you turn up at lunchtime to talk to those people, you've got your contacts. Anybody new? Oh, yes, Henry's new. Henry, this is Bill. He does all our insurances. Hey, Henry, how are you? You got a minute? And this is just how you maximize your leverage and your, if I never had lunch in my own office, I always had lunch in someone else's lunchroom and just sat there and people would come like, hey, Bill, how you doing? Yeah, no, really, really good. How are you guys doing? And it's just one of those things that if you put your mind to it, um, in the 10 years I sold insurance, and Mike will tell you this isn't an easy thing to do, I never sold less than 200 policies a year. I averaged 224 policies a year over 10 years. And that was just leveraging it. And that was all the marketing I did, just a little slip of paper. Hey, I know you're really busy. Just tick what you're interested in. Pop your name and address or whatever, your name and number in there, and I'll get the information to you. How did I get the information to them? I turned up in their lunchroom. So just to give you some idea of how you can really leverage it. So let me give you the next example. And we are going to get through all these. I got a butchery company here. And as you can see at the bottom, the result was an increase in sales of $215,000 in year two. And this is a small butcher's. And I know these are small examples at the moment, but they do demonstrate. And what happened there, it was very, very simple little thing. Their boss did a barbecue. They turned up in their butcher's aprons, and butchers were doing the sausage sizzle. And it was kind of nice. And he said, I need to make more money. And he was willing to put the money into a barbecue. Please forgive me, folks. A little bit of a head cold. You'll hear the occasional bark. So first thing we did is they had 6 staff. And we said, well, all of you belong somewhere. Let's write some letters. And so we wrote 27 letters to everyone they knew that was an association, a sports club, a church group, a gym. They all wrote a letter. Hey, I'm one of your members. Do you ever do something around raising funds? We do this, and if you're interested, we'll have a look. They got 7 replies. So straight away, we've honored the fact that we're going to put this into different markets. So instead of doing it once for a school, they were going to do it in 7 different places. What they did when they went to the school was they handed out recipe cards with their contact details on and hope people would come back to them. Now, if I look at Mike and I see his marketing brain, he's going to go, waste of time. So what we did instead was we said, well, hang on a minute. We'll create a discount card for anybody from the school. So when they got a sausage sizzle, they simply said, by the way, if you want one of our cards here, you not only get a discount, but we'll give some money back to the school. And literally from those 7 events, they ended up giving out about 480 discount cards. And so people started coming through their door. So then they donated back to the organization and made sure there was real stickability. And if you start handing money back to organizations, they like to have you around. And so you're welcome next year, you're welcome next year. And they started to get much more involved in the organizations. They came to the fairs, but then they also ended up doing things like, a sausage sizzle at the sports day. They'd provide ice cream blocks in the hot sun, or they'd know someone who played or practiced rugby and they'd turn up at the school to give some coaching. All that sort of stuff started to happen, and we coached them to how to donate to the organization and really get to be known. The other thing that happened was because they were talking to so many people, one of the people at the school turned around and said, it's really hard for my dad, who's an old guy, to make sure he gets meat. And it's important he gets meat. Protein is important as you get older. And so we decided we'd create packs of meat for retired people. Now, here is why you don't let butchers name products. They wanted to call it the grey pack. You think of that associated with meat, you'll understand why that might not just work so well. But we called it the pensioner pack. And they charged $10 a week because old people will eat anything. You can literally cut a lump of meat off something. And I know Mike's a vegetarian, but you can go, oh, here's a bit of leftover brains, liver, kidney, whatever. And they just went to the abattoir and go, look, we want pensioner packs put together. We're willing to pay you $6.50 for them. And they went, yes, no problem. We got loads of stuff hanging around. And so you put tripe into a pensioners pack and people go, oh, yum, it's great. Pensioners will literally eat what we don't. And so they were making about $3.50 profit off each of these pensioner packs, and they were selling 130 a week. Right. And so that made them endeared and known in the pension in the retirement villages. And finally, what they did, there was a big public handover and sponsorships and lots of social media and things like that that allowed them to really leverage it. So that again is a small exercise, increased their sales 215,000 a year. Their total sales before I turned up was about 600,000. That's why I was called in. And so that's the sort of thing that, again, just one more example. It's just another, just to show you how it works, because it's the best way to explain it. Clear? So guys, again, I throw that open to the floor. Any thoughts, any ideas? Is some value in what we're doing, or is it we missing the mark?
Bill, before you go on, I have to love. I loved your quote. Pensioners will eat what we don't. Annalise is shaking her head. Aren't you a pensioner these days, Bill? We'll send you some tripe.
I don't eat tripe ever.
No, and Annalise, I'm so with you. I can't get within 10 meters of it. It is most horrible and vile stuff. But
Absolutely.
yeah, but my father-in-law is in a retirement village, and when they literally have a jugged tripe once a month, and I'm not joking, there would be 40 or 50 people lined up to get a bit of tripe. They then take back to their room and eat with something else. They put veggies with it. I don't know what you do with it, but you
No.
cannot get near it. It smells terrible. I'm
Bill,
sorry.
in these in both these examples, what struck me was that you're utilizing communities that people already have, but they're not tapping into. So, we already look at everybody on this call. I think there's about 14 of us now. There's
Oh,
14 of
brilliant.
us on this call. We've got, you know, a multitude of different communities that we're all involved in. And yet we don't naturally think about those from a perspective of how can we enhance that community by providing some of our service and to their extended communities. And that's what I think both of these examples are very useful in getting people thinking about that.
I kind of like too that to make this successful, you've got to attract. I mean, that's basic marketing. If you think about the idea of a competition around eating bits of sushi, you're meeting whole new businesses being done between those businesses. People are having fun. It's a laugh, it's a hoot. It takes an hour after work, and it's achieving really, it's very cool things. And again, with the sausage sizzle and what have you, it's one less thing for the school to organize, and they make money. So really, there's a lot of these marketing ideas. No one kind of loses. It's a really nice aspect to them. So yeah, I just why not make it a win-win? You know,
I can ask a
Why not?
question, please.
please.
Go for it.
Um, so I see at the markets, I go to some really great markets where there's a lot of entrepreneurs selling, but I don't, but they never make enough money because the upmarket markets cost a lot to go there. How would you apply it in something like that that probably have an upmarket one would have 6 markets a year? How do they create um, something like that you've shown here?
So are you saying it when you say they have 6 markets a year, are you saying a residential area that has a market?
Yes, and it's very an upmarket area. So they will go to Santon, they will go to Menlyn, for instance, they will go or to a wine farm or whatever. But they have 6 opportunities to showcase their products and sell and make some impact, but many of them don't.
Well, I mean, to me, it's about using your imagination. I don't care where they are. I don't care how upmarket they are. We've done this for people that sell houses, and they've sold 16 houses in the first 6 years of business, and they sold another 14 houses in the next 6 months. And I can tell you how we did that one. But if you've got people and saying, look, we're going to go to different markets, we're going to go to different places. If you've got, for example, wines, I don't know many businesses that aren't happy to have someone come in and teach you about wines. If you've got a social group or social committee, just go to them and go, hey, we do wine tasting. If people are interested in buying the wines, they can, but we put on a free wine tasting for people, show them what wines are about, how you pick them, how you match them to meats. We might have German wines, French wines, South African wines. Go get the old Niederberg out or whatever it is, but Blue Nun, I think was the other one, wasn't it?
Oh no.
So there you go. Hey, anything at $3 a bottle is good by me. Um,
Yeah.
but it's one of those, I think there is always a way. It's just finding something of interest. So if I was to look at how I would, um, my rules around getting in front of people and choosing those people, how do I pick a target? First thing I look for is possibly a champion inside the organization. So while there is a bit of opportunism about this, you can go and pick targets. It's like people saying, "Oh, you can't control where you get referrals." What a load of rubbish! I go have a look at a company and I want to get in there, and I just go find someone that can introduce me. I'm not at all unhappy. I showed you the page with 4 um, names on it. That's from an extremely amazing lawyer here in Auckland. One of those names is the head of commercial banking and growth for KiwiBank. Now, I didn't ask for that name. She provided it, but I'm not stupid. I'm sure going to take it. But if I want to get into a company, I can create the referrals I want. You can create introductions to where you want to go. It's not that hard, and it's part of what I'm going to show you very soon. So one thing I look at when I say what's a great target is, do I have a champion? Can I create a champion? Is there someone in there that really wants to make stuff happen? Right now, I'm doing some work around raising funds for a not-for-profit organization. The person I want to meet is a particular lady who is a consultant into the construction industry here, and she's got a fantastic database. And I sat next to her at an Institute of Directors meeting. And if you're silly enough to sit next to me, you're mine. I mean, it's really dumb. Michael, no, I say I love getting on a plane because I hear the click, click, and click of the seatbelts. You're mine, and you're mine for the next hour. And amazing how you can create opportunity. And guys, just a thought for you. Some of you may remember these. Have I got one here? Have I got one? Ah, I haven't got one down there. I have the old speaker magazines. They literally are about 10 years old. And every time I get on a flight, the first thing I do is put the speaker magazine in the little thing in front of me. And the great thing about the speaker magazine, it's got speaker as big as you can get on a magazine. And that's always sticking out. And if I do that as I'm flying around 3 or 4 times a year, someone goes, "Oh, you a speaker?" And I think, "You silly, silly person." Yes, I am. So do those little things that leverage. So a champion is a wonderful thing. She is a champion. I want to make her into a champion. My price for doing so is to help. She's on the board of a not-for-profit and they need to make money. I'm going to go along and talk to the board and I'm going to give them a lot of ideas about how they can raise funds. That's me building up the emotional bank account to her, for her to sit down and we'll start talking about how can I help her and how can she help me. And Lindsay, you're all over this, like this is your bread and butter. So you're all about connection and we will have a relationship. But I can build that. There's no accident about that. I've got a lot of empathy, but when you sit and look at empathy, you've got emotional empathy. In other words, I feel how you feel. You've got cognitive empathy, which is really I can see where you're coming from. But you also have to have tactical empathy, which is while I feel for you, I can hear where you're coming from. I'm going to make sure this works for both of us. And it's about your intent. Make it work for both people. But I'm very, very strong on having tactical empathy. I'm a bit of a sucker and I'll do anything for anyone. You ask me, I'll come do it for you. I'm stupid. I do too much. And but I am certainly learning. I've certainly helped her raise money for her not-for-profit, but I have a reason for doing it. She will gain from that, and we will both gain from that as we build a relationship. So that's tactical empathy, and it's about my intent towards it. I'm not going to hurt her. I'm not trying to rip her apart and go gouge her phone book. I can build a relationship where everybody wins, but I'm being very tactical about it. Make no mistake, if that makes sense. Anyway,
Good.
so a champion in-house is fantastic because they're the ones that take you in. And if I've got a champion, that makes it a much higher prospect for me to try and get into an organization because I've got a friend in camp, and really that's like a referral. Commonality or connection, the art of likability, it's just stupid how little connection you need. I went back to a school reunion. I am literally, I don't know if anybody you remember an old movie called Animal House. It's many, many moons old, but there was a character played by John Belushi. I was the John Belushi character at my school. When they found the teacher's mini in the swimming pool, which was empty, they all said, "I think it's Bill," that sort of stuff. That was absolutely me. But I go back to a school reunion, and two people offered me keynotes. Now, based on what? The fact we got the same school tie. If they thought back to what a clown I was when I was at high school, they may not have done it, but they didn't even ask what I spoke on. "Oh, we've got a conference. You should come speak for us. Come on, let's organize it." And I walked out of there with two possible keynotes from people I really hadn't even talked to for 2.5 decades. The amount of connection you need is stupidly small. I mean, I can be at a network event, and guys, if you're not doing this sort of stuff, you never go and get coffee at a network event until someone else is getting coffee. And then you walk up and you just say something like, "I'm nothing until I've had my first coffee." And you just throw out an invitation to talk. And if they reply, or if they don't reply, you go, "Well, that one didn't work." And then you wait for the breakfast line. And there's two people in front of you and two people either side you. And you just say something like, "I hope it's not powdered eggs. I really hate those." And someone will say something. And once they've accepted your offer to talk, "So why do you come here?" "Oh, really?" It's very, very simple to pick up a conversation or not. It's not hard just to have commonality. And it's something you should practice. When you see someone in the street or something happens, see if you can make a little comment that gets you a smile. This is going to sound terrible. I don't mean it to. There is one advantage being an old guy like me. A couple of days ago, there was a young lady preening in the window, and she's looking at her fan and moving her hair in. And I just went up and went, "Look, you really don't have to worry. You're quite lovely. You don't have to touch a thing. You're great," and walked off. I get away with that because of how I do it. It's just harmless. I'm not going to touch her. She knows it. She's safe. And people go, "Bill, you shouldn't do that stuff." You're probably right, but I practice making quick connections whenever I can. right? And that sort of thing. And like someone hasn't got the right change at the counter and it's taking forever. And you kind of look at the next person in line and you sort of go, you know, hope you've got a card. Oh yeah, got a card. Okay, good. And I've made a connection. Practice finding quick things to connect on. It's really, really far simpler than you think. So you don't need a lot of commonality. But commonality is good. My lovely wife is now 11 years clear of cancer, and she knows I give this example. But when she had cancer, obviously I supported breast cancer, everything. And so you're in an organization and say, hi, what are you here for? My wife's got this. Oh, really? What about you? Didn't know my wife's got breast cancer. And we're just working our way through that. And that simple commonality let you talk to each other. And I went there because I was trying to support people, but I wasn't stupid either. When I found people that were running businesses and what have you, we've broken the ice. Now, you might think me heartless, you might think me terrible, but at a hard time, you can also support people and help them out. But there was one guy that turned up there and we said, so what about you? Your wife suffering? No, no, not at all. I just wanted to come along and meet some people. Sorry? Right. So, I mean, that's such a clunk, right? Um, so then all three of us just sort of looked at each other and turned away. Um, so have commonality, have connection, find something. It's really, really easy to find something in common. And finally, have a cause. Can you get behind something? If you get behind a cause and you put your hand up and go, I'll do that with you, then people will absolutely gravitate towards you. They'll recognize you. If you want to make headway into a school, for example, or let's take Annalisa's thoughts around how do I get into the market? Just go, would you like me to go and find someone that will take you? Would you like me to find somewhere for your market you've never been before? Would you like me to help with your marketing around the market? No. So how many people have you ever had? How about we set a target for that plus one as being your biggest and we go plus one, and we make that a target and I'll help you achieve it. What do you say? And suddenly people go, so sorry, who are you and what you're all about? We love you and please come here and we think you're awesome. And so pick up a cause. And these are things that work very, very well. And I get how mercenary that can sound. Um, but I don't do it lightheartedly. When I sold insurance, I never had a claim fail. We went to bat for people. When I pick up a cause, the cause works. I make sure the scale sits on my side because I want to make sure it does. I don't want it to ever be a feeling of usury. So if someone has to raise $1 million and that's the way I'm going to get really known there, I'm going to go raise them $1 million. And then I've built my emotional bank account and I'm very happy to get referrals back for it. But I make sure it's a quid pro quo. Okay, so those would be the three things that I look for to say, is this a good place to go? There's a lot of places you can go. Don't be afraid to reject them. If you want to do the QR code, I have got a little 3-page thing on how you do some marketing. There's nothing there that Mike doesn't do. There's nothing there that Circle of Excellence hasn't got, probably better. But if you wanted, it's a little checklist. Go, okay, before you go in, do this, this, and this, and why are you doing that, and should you do that, and what's that going to cost you, and when do you expect to get a payback? If you want a little pro forma, you're more than welcome. Just QR code it, and you can have it. It's nothing flash. It's just a little tick box. I hope that's all right, Mike.
Yeah, totally, Bill. We've got a couple of good questions here too. So Yana's asked, can I use my books as a conversation starter or marketing tools instead of roses? And then he goes on, the butcher events, what was the actual business model? Did they sell the meat at the event or the clients bought an amount in advance?
Okay, so book one first. You should always use your book. You have to frame things carefully. So if my book's up here somewhere, if I turn up and go, hi, I'm Bill, I've got this book, I'd like to give you a free one. You got to be a little careful how you frame that because people can turn around and go, mm-hmm. So okay, you're sitting here going wave, 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 wave. There's opportunities to put books in front of people. Probably Glenn Sharkey does it better than anyone I know in reality here in New Zealand. He's got about 7, 8 books now, and he sends them before he meets people, and people have a look at them. He says, my CEOs never read them. They just flick through them. And he's got an incredibly clever way of highlighting key things in his book. And as they're looking through them page by page, key things that they're looking for just jump off the page. He highlights, do I really have to do that, or can I do this? And the boss looks at that and goes, oh, I've got someone that does that. He's really clever. He uses them as a lumpy mail. What you can do is you could arrange to drop one off to somebody and just say, look, I was just dropping one off to the boss, but I thought I'd bring another half dozen. Does anybody want a free book? And now I'm not being a smarty, and I'm not kind of pushing myself as being heroic or what have you. I'm now being generous and going, look, I've actually had a couple of people I said I'd drop a book off to, but I had another half a dozen in the car. And if anybody wants one, you're very, very welcome. So that sort of thing allows people who are interested to come over. I'm very big on responding to people who are interested, and I know Mike is expert at looking at an audience of 100 people and finding the half a dozen that actually want to talk to him. It's a real skill. And if you're sitting around at a network event and you're throwing out little bits and pieces about what you do, and 2 people look interested in the table of 10, those are the 2. The other 7 or 8 that want to go talk to someone else, let them go. If you find 2 people interested, you stop there and you spend your time. It's not about the number of people, it's about the quality and the depth. Your relationship should be about the depth of the moments, not about the number of hours that you spend. So the book's a great idea. You just got to be a little careful how you pop it out there. The other question, the butchers didn't do anything except to sausage sizzle, and their objective on the day was to hand out the cards and tell people they would give them a discount and donate to the school, the church, the gym, the charity. So the sausage sizzle, it comes across as being a very pure thing then. If you go, hey, here's a sausage and I can sell you packs of 6, people will buy a pack of 6 and they will end their relationship. All right, so it becomes a product sale, not a relationship build. So they didn't sell any meat at the time. What they wanted to do was get people to walk into their butcher's shop. These days, they'd probably do it online. Those days, it was all walk into the shop. So thank you. Very, very cool question. Any more? Real good?
Can you explain a little bit about the letters? You mentioned that you wrote 27 letters for the events. So what was the difference between each letter? Or maybe the headlines?
Nothing. That each letter was the same. The only difference was who signed it. So the member of the group was the one that signed it. And it was, hey, look, I'm working at a butcher's shop. We'd actually do sausage sizzles and we donate all the money back to the organization. If you are raising funds, I can have a chat to my boss and see if he do a sausage sizzle at your next event. Is that of any interest? So you'll find my languaging is super simple. It's really conversational. It's lightweight. And we have something we call reasonable relevance. If you make it sound reasonable and it's relevant to the person, you will get a response. I would hate to think I could do 27 letters and only get 7 responses now. I've become a lot better at it. I'd be really annoyed if I didn't get half. But that literally was the letter. It wasn't long. It's, hey, it's Bob here. I'm one of your members. I know we're always doing charity money raises, and my boss does sausage sizzles, and we give the money back to, back to the organization just to put ourselves in front of a lot of people. Would you be interested at your next fundraiser if you had a sausage sizzle by real butchers? I can have a chat to my boss if you are. Just let me know. And they didn't have the skill to then follow up. Like they were literally apprentices. They were guys that chopped up lamb chops. So we didn't expect them to do any follow-up. And the boss didn't want to do any follow-up. And that's one reason we probably only got 7 out of 27, because I'd have got on the phone and said, hey, what do you think of the letter? And so that's all it was. Very, very simple proposition that people can look at and go, I see that. No real strings attached to that. That's easy. And so they'll come back and go, yeah, we do events. So how does this work? And that's the start of the conversation. Very conversational, very non-salesy. Soon as you sound and smell like a pitch, you're gone. So very, very conversational. All right. So guys, I have one more example, and then I'm going to throw a last thought on how you can really help put some of your things together using AI. And if I don't have AI in here, people go, Bill, you're not relevant. I don't think that this is best written or anything, but I want to show you a process that is stupidly easy to use that you probably already do use. And again, you're welcome to the PowerPoint slides. So let's jump back into the last example, and then we'll jump back into that, finish off with a few questions, and we'll all go have dinner, lunch, afternoon tea, whatever it might be. So this was a hearing company, a hearing aid company. And basically they were just looking for a good idea. They came to me in about early October and just said, look, we're running a bit behind. We need to boost the sales. Any ideas? And I think in those days I cost them $700 for the whole idea. So they paid me. And it's a stupidly small amount of money. So what we did firstly was we identified clients. Excuse me. I'm going to pop a little cough lozenge in. I've got 2 slots at a conference tomorrow. That should be exciting. We identified clients who we knew lived in retirement villages. And if you think about hearing aids, guess who your clients are? So we had lots. And we asked the sergeants who knew these patients really well. It wasn't the audiologist. The audiologist just churned them through. It was just your team behind the front counter who remembered who Mrs. Jones was. So who's outward going, who's always fun, who's chatty, who comes in, oh dear. And they said, oh, we've got about 5 of those. And those were the people we targeted. And what we did was we reached out to them and we basically just said, would you like a way of having more money to buy grandchildren Christmas presents, to perhaps get a trip in, to treat yourself, whatever you want between, at Christmas time? And we created that story and that reason. Would you like to just get a bit more money before Christmas? Would you like to buy your grandchildren more presents? Would you like to treat yourself? And of course, oh yes, love to. I have no idea what your pensions are like over there, but they ain't big over here. All right, so they're nice to have, but I'd rather have just kept the tax my whole life. But who am I to say? So we got one person in 7 retirement villages. So each one had a champion. So we created a champion. Then what we did was we created, we invited them into the store. We pitched the idea. We got the ones that would say, yes, I'll do that. We then provided them the collateral. Each of them got a little card with their name on. And we said, you just go around that retirement village and anybody that comes in here and buys a hearing aid, you get $200 a hearing aid. And they go, $200? That's a lot of money. And you can imagine it. Sid walking around, do you need hearing aids? Well, go to see these people. And they literally crusaded on behalf of this hearing aid company. So they were customers, they were happy customers, and they were walking around basically handing out vouchers. And there was a little discount that went in there as well. So in the end, we paid out on what we call Prezi cards here, which are basically cards you can put a balance on and spend pretty much everywhere. And these guys went to town for us. And the numbers look like this. The cost for 16 new clients between the beginning of November and mid-December at $200 each was $3,200. The average hearing aid was $4,100 and everyone got 2. So in that 6-week period, we generated another $131,200 worth of hearing aid sales. And the really beautiful thing, every single one of them came back the next year and said, can I do that again? All right, because they had $3,200 split between 7 of them to go out and spend on money. And they became champions for us inside the retirement villages. And so again, you'll notice the $200 wasn't spent until someone bought $8,200, $4,100 worth of hearing aids. They were quite high in hearing aids. So again, that's just another example of how you can so easily leverage these sort of things. The cost was the collateral. It was printing cards with their names on. Go get yourself some 160 GSM, get yourself a nice printer, enjoy yourself. Make sense?
Absolutely.
Alrighty, so guys, with very little time left, I'm going to quickly run through the last little bit. I don't mind how long we go, but I know everybody else needs to run away. This is the sort of stuff I would do on a chat GPT, or which has now been superseded, prompt. And I say, you're an expert in guerrilla marketing strategy that costs nothing. And the reason I use guerrilla marketing is there are books and books and books and books and books on guerrilla marketing. So you send us something like ChatGPT off to go and find out all about guerrilla marketing. It'll come back and it'll have 1,000 ideas before you even start. Put in your business link. So here I am. And I want to create a relationship with this business. And I put in that link and I go, my LinkedIn link is also this. So that's my first prompt. The second one is, please find me connections I have linked with on LinkedIn that work there. And so I try and get it to produce and say, well, here's a whole bunch of people you've got on your LinkedIn profiles for those companies. And I look for links. Please find the profile for what are 3 positions in a company I'm looking for. Who is it? Is it HR? Is it the CEO? Is it managing director? Who is it I'm looking for? And provide as much detail as you can on their interests and contact details. Now, I find, for example, Gemini will actually find me a lot more contact details than ChatGPT. I actually get phone numbers off Gemini for New Zealand clients. Don't know why. And often it's only the front desk, but that'll do me. I make a list of first contacts I have that are also first contacts of those 3 people. So, and otherwise, it might find me 10 companies, and in that, it might find me 7 or 8 really good leads that make sense. So I've got about 7,500, 8,000 people on my LinkedIn. That really helps. And it says, well, you've got first level links in with the CEO of this company, with the COO of that company, with the HR manager of that company. And so it'll go and sort for me very, very quickly who I've got a first level link with. So I first contact links I have that are also first contact links to these 3 people. Sorry, I think I just put you wrong there. I'm looking for people we've got in common. And it's not unusual for me to have 100 people in common. So ChatGPT can find a couple of people for me and then go, well, you've got a whole heap of these guys. In truth, I don't use that third one much. If they can find me the people, I just go on my own LinkedIn and it says you've got 146 people in common, and I just go quietly through them and find out who they are. And I just ring them and go, is that a link or do you know them? This is also how I find contacts inside organizations and turn them into referrals. So I find Mr. Jones and he's got a link with Mike Hancock. And I get hold of Mike and go, Mike, do you know Mr. Jones? Yeah, he's da-da-da-da. Think you could arrange an introduction? And so I can arrange through Mike to get to see Mr. Jones. There's no reason you can't create referrals that you want. It can happen more often than you think. From there, please look at this business for social posts, news items, blogs, and any other sources that are useful. I'm looking for changes in the business challenges they face or celebrations. Think widely. So I want my AI to go in and have a really good scout around and find people are hiring, people are firing. They're in the news for this. They back that. Jump on their social, their website. They've got a whole page dedicated to how they support apprentices. And I start to put together ideas on 4 or 5 things that I might be able to add to and add value to. And I want to be able to hit a really good note when I do finally make an impression. So, I mean, if you think that I know a lot of speakers, if this is an organization that really loves apprentices, it's not a big deal for me to find a friend of mine who's a good speaker and go to them and just go, look, I do a lot of work with trades. I've done 5 years with certified speaking professionals. I've done da-da-da-da. I'm going to put this person in a room and we're just going to invite lots of apprentices to come in and really get a good boost. Just thought you might be interested. And so I can knock on that door with something that has real value to them. And they go, so why are you doing that? Well, I'm networking. I'm unashamedly letting people know who I am, but I'm doing it by giving them a favor first. I want to make sure that you're happy that I do approach you and I'm doing it this way. I'm really bold as brass about what I'm doing. If I ring up, hi, my name's Bill James, and I've got to tell you right now, this is an unashamed flag waving exercise for me. I'm just letting people know who I am in case they need me. And certainly in New Zealand, the reaction is, oh, good on you. All right, and what are you about then? Oh, okay, so what is it you want? And I'm right up front. I'm ringing you because I want you to use me. This is an unashamed flag waving exercise, and I very deliberately mispronounced that. So I'm right up front. And I don't see any reason why not. They know why you're ringing. Be straight. Make sure your first interaction is very honest. All right. So from there, create a list of 20 ways you think would maximize my effectiveness and gain their interest when making an introduction or building a relationship. Come on, you're the AI. You tell me smart ways that I could get introduced to or do some good things. And it'll come up with 20 things you could do. I mean, this is it. You don't have to be original anymore. You just have to be able to type on a keyboard. And then my final one, do you have any other suggestions to add? If you were me, what else would you do? Always ask AI that, because it'll come back and be flattering and go, what a great question. If I was doing it, I would think of this. And all joking aside, that's literally what I would do. That's the QR code if you want it. You're more than welcome to take a flash. I'm going to take it down in about 20 odd seconds and just answer any last questions you have. It's 7:58. You better make them quick.
Yeah, we've probably got time for one or two questions, Bill. And, thank you definitely for doing this. I think what it does for me when I see this, and Dave Greenberg's put in the chat here, never heard that story before. A lot of great products get started by, oh, that's something different. Okay. So he's actually on top of something else that I'm chatting about. So I have to say, Bill, what resonates with me is just the simplicity of everything that you're doing all the time. And people overcomplicate marketing all the time. And so to hear it put so simply from a guy who's done it for a long time, been very successful at it, I think is just brilliant. Let me go to the chat here. Diane, this great session. Okay, any final questions for Bill? So let's just have you go to the chat quickly in the last 30 seconds. Tell me, is there something that you're going to implement here? Now watching Bill, like, oh, I've got to go quick. I'll see you. Yeah, thanks, Bill. I'll see you next week.
It's funny, I'm looking at Greg Longstaff. It actually kind of looks like he's on a parachute jump or something. He's coming down fast.
Yeah, well, he probably is. Dave says he's going to use the chat prompts. That's great. Giving me confirmation of doing the simple right little things. Thank you, Andrea. Going to use the chat GPT idea for LinkedIn. Okay, so we've got a few people doing that. Bill, I just want to thank you so much for your time and effort and energy today in putting this together and for being available. I think it was a great session, gave people a lot of thoughts and a lot of thinking about how easy it is actually just to do $0 marketing. And you talk about guerrilla marketing. I recently met and are doing a strategic alliance with the CEO and founder of Guerrilla Marketing. In fact, David Fagan. So he's a lovely guy. Knows a lot of people too. So that's for sure. I see the sun is coming in and blinding me here, and I'm fading into the background. So thank you, everybody. Adela says identify suitable NGOs and make inroads and networking and positioning. Annalise says great ideas, very practical. Bill. Diane says chat prompts, very practical. Thank you much. Okay, everyone. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you giving up your time. Cheers.
Thank you very much.
See you, Dave.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.